So my journey is 7cups.com. So a teen's view on mental health. In before the COVID-19 pandemic started in March 2020, my view on mental health was that it was just like a buzzword spoken by the media, often cited by celebrities, and I didn't really know too many people in my life at the time that really prioritized their mental health. And growing up in Indian household, my parents were always there for me when I felt down or felt stressed, but I never really prioritized mental health like I kind of did with my physical health. And I first was introduced to the concept of mental health through basketball because I'm a big basketball fan. And there was this one NBA player by the name of Kevin Love who experienced a panic attack in the middle of one of his basketball games. And he wrote a memoir online describing his experience and kind of how, even with all his fame and the money he experienced, as an NBA player, that came with higher expectations and higher stressors to his mental health. So I learned about that, wrote an essay about that in my English class that year, and was introduced to that concept of mental health. But I wanted to learn more about how you can improve your mental health. And so through this, I joined 7cups.com, which was a platform to help peers by actively listening to their situations and learning about their stressors and helping them come up with a solution based on their personal needs so that they can have action items to better their mental health. So I joined this in the summer of 2020, again, during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I would say this was a great opportunity for me to hear about a diverse set of cases. Um, Obviously, there are so many different mental health cases and situations that people deal with, from loneliness to dealing with separation in the family to self-harm to you name it. But during COVID, especially at a time when people were separated from their family members, it was essentially amplified because you didn't really have, like, many people didn't really have some of the people they usually talk to about their mental health, whether it's because of like hospitalizations or just separation of families or separation of friends. And what I kind of learned with my experience at Seven Cups is that there are different ways of approaching each situation. And one of those ways is through culture. For example, there was one situation where I was speaking to an individual in India, and he had to study for some exams to get placed into engineering school. And he was talking to me about how overwhelmed he was feeling, especially with the pressures that his parents were setting on him. And this was great for me because I could say, like, I had a similar experience growing up because my parents definitely had higher expectations for me to like do well and excel in school. And I kind of used my own experience to help this individual understand that, Indian parents are some of the most stubborn people in the world. You just have to really like take a step back, try to think for yourself and evaluate how you can add more breaks between your studying to make sure like it's all worth it in the end. And for example, I told him about how I played basketball when I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed with like school and the volunteering I was doing at the time, and among other things. And a month later, he was feeling much better because he started doing more activities such as fishing, playing soccer, and connecting with others in his community. But besides that, like I mentioned earlier, COVID was a time where you didn't really have support systems, or support systems would break. And so many of these issues would be much amplified than they would be in a normal society. But also, I learned the importance of hearing versus listening. It's really important to, you can always like hear somebody speak about their day, but listening really involves you coming up with tailored questions to what they're saying and finding ways to advance to the next level of conversation and pushing to find more ways to be productive in the conversation and to face many of the challenges that other people are facing. And then, like I mentioned before, cultural differences are a huge factor in mental health. What works for somebody in one community will not work for somebody, and that's in a different type of community, whether it's ethnic, religious, you name it. But I guess later that year, I kind of had my own experience with mental health or challenges to my mental health. I feel like I never really had too big of a challenge until fall 2020 where my school had this option of either going to school in person or zooming in online. And I chose to zoom in online because my mom was immunocompromised. I didn't want to risk anything bringing COVID back home. But it did strain my mental health a little bit because I would always see like my friends hanging out in person in class and being able to talk to the teacher, whereas I would often have to press the unmute button to speak, and sometimes there'd be delays in transmission. So it kind of like in this image, I was like outside of a window looking into the classroom. But I like, no, I was asking for some advice from my brother, and my brother was saying like, didn't you help people this summer with their mental health? And so I had to kind of be like my own therapist and be like, what would I have said to somebody in my situation? And that involved like exploring new activities, such as volunteering in other places online or joining different groups, like working out at the gym at home, finding ways like that. And then also other factors I learned. One, the importance of family, as we mentioned earlier in our discussions. Like I said earlier, family will always be on your side. They're always on your same team. And whether or not they disagree with you or not, they have your best interests. But this doesn't have to just be extended to family. It could also be extended to some of your friends, some of the friends you grow up with, some of the new friends you make, like at work or school. So definitely don't count those out. Also, I just really learned that I'm still learning about my mental health. I did gain like a great experience at sevencups.com, but even like a couple months ago, I usually go to the gym and lift weights for my mental health, but because I hurt my shoulder, I didn't really have that to like decompress. And so over the past few months, it was much down for me, but it caused that discomfort caused me to find more ways to better my mental health. Um, so yeah, I guess just one concluding statement is you will always face challenges in life. It's just a matter of how equipped you are to deal with those challenges. And that's why you should definitely prioritize your mental health, establishing great connections, and never being afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Thank you.